Chair will now bring forward House Concurrent Resolution 7 for its first hearing. Representatives Peterson and Creech was here. Welcome to committee. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Wilkin, Vice Chair Scheuring, Ranking Member DeMora, and members of the Senate General Government Committee, thank you for the opportunity to provide sponsor testimony on House Concurrence number 7. House Concurrent Resolution 7 aims to do one very simple thing: make daylight savings time permanent. There are two sides of this argument, and it would be untruthful to say that I haven't heard both sides from my constituents, and you will as well. Some of your constituents will want to have the United States and Ohio stay on standard time, which we observe from early November to March of each year. Others will want our clocks to stay on daylight savings time, which we just moved into in March and will remain until November. However, both sides agree on one thing: we need to stop switching our clocks twice a year. I'm not here to debate the reasons behind our longstanding practice of switching the clocks back and forth, which is the practice for most of our life. Rather, I believe in 2024, we need to stop thinking that cutting off the top of the blanket and sewing to the bottom somehow lengthens the blanket. No matter what we do, there are still 24 hours in a day, and the tilt of the earth still changes the length of the time the sun shines each season. The main argument for choosing one or the other is that we simply no longer need the biennial tradition of changing our clocks. Each year, from March to November, our clock's set for daylight savings time, meaning that for only 1/3 of the year, over the winter, we use standard time. Studies clearly show that moving our clocks forward in the spring and back in the fall cause a number of work, school, and sleep-related issues. Moving to daylight savings time year-round will allow for more light in the evening during the colder months. Studies show that more daylight in the evenings results in fewer car crashes and pedestrian accidents. It reduces the number of robberies by 27%. Continuing to change the time results in a higher number of cardiac issues and strokes and prolonged seasonal depression. More daylight in the evening increases physical activity and reduces childhood obesity. One of the best arguments for not changing the clocks that I have heard came from a school superintendent when a similar resolution was proposed in the last General Assembly. This superintendent raised the concern of state testing. Tests that are often administered in the 3rd and 4th week of March, high impact end of your result or tests. Yet, when do we change the clocks forward each year, thus disrupting the sleep pattern of our students? The 2nd week of March. A recent study revealed that sleep loss, even for a little as an hour, can decrease a child's quality of life, showing significant negative impacts on the children's physical well-being as well as their ability to cope with the school environment. This is 2024. We need to stop doing this to our children and our students. As of 2023, 18 states, which are listed in the testimony, have passed laws, resolutions, or voter initiatives for permanent daylight savings time, and dozens of others are considering the same.
Thank you to my joint sponsor, Chairman Wilkin, Leader DeMora, and Senator Gavrone. Thank you for hearing our bill. I suspect you have heard this before. My testimony is going to be largely similar to my colleagues. Maybe just a couple quick highlights. You know, we've been doing this since World War I, over 100 years. A lot has changed in the world, you may have noticed. We have electric lights. We have cell phones. We've sent a man to the moon and back. I mean, so a lot of things are very different. and the need for daylight savings time and possible advantages have largely disappeared. There's no medical reason, no health reason, no economic reason to continue to change the clocks. As my colleague shared, the real question is, do you want to stay on permanent time or do you want to move to daylight savings time? And any legitimate poll of Ohioans suggests that about 60% would prefer to have that extra hour of sunshine in the evening, afternoon, as opposed to morning. But again, our bill suggests daylight savings time. I'm not going to argue if it is the other way. We've got a chart on page 3 of my testimony suggesting, showing how it would be if we took this permanent change. I urge the committee to support this resolution, and let's end this foolishness of our clock change and the disruption that it causes in all of our lives. As a grandfather, I know what the challenge it is to get children to sleep, and that disruption alone is worth not making changes to daylight savings time. So we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you both for your testimony. Are there any questions for the representatives? Senator DeMora.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I wholeheartedly agree we shouldn't change clocks. But again, I was one of those people that are on, we should keep it on standard time. So, I mean, I'm looking at this stuff, especially the chart you have about time changes. And you know, I do worry about sunrise in the middle of winter at 8:50 in the morning. I mean, you know, everybody's coming to, so you're talking about drive times, the representative talked about drive times in the evening being dark, but I got to think in the morning, if it's still dark, you know, I mean, again, I'm not arguing, I'll support whatever we decide to support, so long as we change the clocks, but again, I just was one of those people that's a standard time folk. And I appreciate you doing this, and I wish I'd have thought of it, actually. But I'd have gone the other way and kept standard time. But so, I guess there's no question. Everybody's wanting to know. I mean, what was the rationale for picking one over the other, except for maybe the school times? I guess that's my question.
Maybe I'll add a little more context to that, too. So Ohio has the ability to move to standard time, which you prefer. Right now, we have the ability to do that legislatively. We do not have the ability to move daylight savings time on a permanent basis year-round based upon federal law. But certainly I would not recommend, and I think my colleague, especially since he lives on a border county, you know, we don't want to create disruption to commerce and have the different time zones, especially if you're familiar with Indiana that had at one time had 3 time zones within their own state at certain points of the year. And, you know, as there's enough traffic between Ohio and Kentucky, Ohio and Indiana, we need to recognize that we need to do this as a block. We'd really like the federal government to do this, which is what this resolution urges them to act. I think, as I suggested, every legitimate poll that I've seen suggests that about 60% of Ohioans prefer to have that hour in the evening as opposed to the morning. But I'm with you. I don't care. I just want a quick change in the clock. We'll adjust. And if you do take that, you know, you talk about the 8:40, but if you do what you suggest in the wintertime, you're going to have sunset about 5 o'clock. So it's one way or the other. I will say, from my years up here, the 2 bills that have gotten me more correspondence from my constituents and from people across the state are feral swine and daylight savings time. People care about those 2 issues.
Any follow-up?
So my biggest one is trying to prevent Ohio State football games from being on streaming television is my most commented one. But I do agree with you about saving time stuff too. Yes, absolutely.
It's all in perspective. Any other questions? Seeing none, this will constitute the first hearing on House Concurrent Resolution 7. Thank you both very much.